was not prepared for that level of emotional distress at 3 a.m. Hello everyone, my name is Ella and I am back with another discussion about Wandavision. This week we will be discussing episode 8 previously on, so if you have not yet watched that episode yet, pause my video, go watch that, and then come back and join me. Okay, so first things first, let me just get this out in the clear right now. Agatha Harkness can step on me. I'll let her. Okay, now that that's out of the way, holy cannoli, this episode. I don't know what I expected we were going to get after the cliffhanger that they left us off on last week, but this episode, wow. First of all, I really like that they had the Marvel Studio logo go from red to purple for Agatha Harkness. I thought that was really cool. Also, it made me immediately wonder if we were going to get like an entire backstory episode on Agatha, because the episode was called Previously On. So I thought it might be centered on her for this episode, which would have had its pros and cons because we would have learned more about her, but then also that would have been a whole episode right before the finale that wouldn't have focused on the actual like main storyline at all. So I'm kind of glad that it didn't end up that way. But we did still get to see some backstory on Agatha Harkness. We went all the way back to the Salem witch trials to see her betraying her coven and her mom apparently too. So I really appreciated, even though it was just that tiny small little bit, it was nice to see, some backstory for Agatha Harkness instead of them just kind of like throwing her into the MCU and being like, here you go, have fun figuring out more about her. Also, I thought it was interesting that she got her little brooch pin thing from her mother, if it is really her mother. I haven't read any comics with Agatha Harkness, so I don't know if that is actually supposed to be her mother or if this is just some kind of like storyline that they kind of developed for the MCU to make things work a little better, kind of like how they did with making Hela Odin's daughter instead of like Loki's daughter and all that kind of stuff, just to kind of like streamline it. So I really did appreciate getting to see them kind of explain magic in a way that we haven't seen it before, because we have Doctor Strange and we have Loki who has his magic, and we've seen Wanda use her magic before. We've seen magic in the MCU. We've just never really had any kind of like explanation for it other than, Infinity Stones or Asgardian magic and stuff like that. So I liked that it was kind of like a witchcraft lesson from Agatha. But I will say I feel like it was a little bit rushed because they did kind of just like drop this into the next to last episode. Which is kind of cutting it close to the chase, to be quite honest. But it was nice to get kind of like a crash course in how magic works, at least for Agatha. Now, the way that Agatha brought up being in Westview was kind of it left some room for debate. I couldn't quite decide if she was already there or like if she was specifically, because she mentioned that she was drawn to the place because of the leftover magic. So I'm not sure if she was drawn there because of Wanda's magic or if there was already magic in that area that had kind of been like left over. So that was a little bit ambiguous for me, but I'm thinking it's most likely that she was drawn there because of Wanda's magic, which makes sense the more you kind of go through the episode. In place of spending what could likely be an entire hour going through every little detail in each little room that Agatha has Wanda go through in her psyche, in her memory, I'm just going to kind of hit some of the highlights that I noticed throughout each of the different sections of Wanda's memory that we traveled through in this episode. First of all, we have when she was a kid with her brother and her family. I will say, of all the theories that I had heard about why Wanda had chosen sitcoms, I wasn't actually expecting it to be something along the lines of it was something that she did with her family, that her parents loved sitcoms and so that's why she chose sitcoms. I don't know why that felt so outlandish to me as a theory, but obviously it was right, because we do see that they watched a lot of sitcoms when they were kids because their family, their parents were selling the DVDs. So it was nice to kind of get that answer out of the way. The other thing I want to highlight about this scene is the fact that the Stark Industries bomb that hit the ground, the beeping and the flashing of the red light matched exactly the Stark Industries toaster that was the commercial in episode 1. So it was really great to kind of see that parallel and that callback. So I really enjoyed that. And then the last thing that I want to mention about this section of Wanda's memory is the idea that she hexed the bomb without meaning to and without knowing to. I feel like they kind of glossed over that in the episode itself, like talking about it, but I don't know, like that's kind of a big thing. I had more thoughts on it, but now that I'm like thinking about it, I can't really like obviously that would have been her first time using magic, so that's big in and of itself. But I guess it was never something that I considered. Even with backstory, like I never would have thought that she would have stopped the bomb herself. Like I always also just bought that it was, a dud bomb. So it's interesting to kind of be faced with the possibility that she used her magic to stop it. Moving along to the memory where she got her powers from Loki's scepter due to working with Strucker. First of all, I don't know why seeing Loki's scepter got me so excited like it did, but it did. Anyways, for something of more actual substance, the main thing in this scene that I wanted to talk about was the fact that we get to see that little glimpse of the Scarlet Witch, and it's kind of ambiguous whether or not it's like the entity Scarlet Witch that Agatha says that Wanda is at the end of the episode, or if it was just meant to be kind of her seeing into the future. I'm leaning towards the latter because it is like the Mind Stone, and obviously the Mind Stone, if we go back to the Avengers 1, was kind of used to, like, as Loki put it, see the truth. Like it shows you different things and different information and stuff like that about possibilities. So I do think it was more she saw herself down the line in the future fully becoming the Scarlet Witch. So that was, that scene in and of itself was so cinematically beautiful. And I really hope that we do actually get to see Wanda in that Scarlet Witch outfit, because chef's kiss. Is it really a WandaVision video if I don't do a chef's kiss at least once? Also, one more thing of note in this scene was the fact that we see really the first timeline-wise glimpse of Wanda being able to kind of mess with the footage, like playback of what was happening. It skips over what she experienced when she touched the Infinity Stone, and it's very similar obviously to what happens with WandaVision, where she'll choose what she's showing to other people. So that was interesting to see that, this wasn't the first time this was all happening with WandaVision, that she'd actually been using magic like that before. I don't really have anything much to say about the scene when they were back in Avengers compound between Vision and Wanda, but I did want to say that I thought that they handled the idea of grief and depression after losing a loved one in a very nice way, and Vision in particular had a line that really just kind of stood out to me when he said it, and that line was, "What is grief if not love persevering?" Because that's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. It's recently been the 2-year anniversary of my half-brother dying, so I've been thinking about that a lot recently, and I don't know, it stuck with me, and I feel like I've been seeing that a lot lately, is like rewriting the idea of grief being sadness and just overwhelming depression that you can't handle, into something that's a little bit more hopeful. It's in something that's more, grief doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It's just that you have so much love for someone that doesn't have anywhere to go now, so it just kind of pours out of you. So I thought that was a really just poetic line from Vision. The scene where Wanda not really infiltrates, but I guess visits Sword is the one that really kind of sticks out to me the most, just because there's so much information and a lot of it we kind of had to like put together ourselves. So first of all, previously in the show, Hayward had said that Wanda had like broken in and taken Vision in order to bring him back to life so that she could have him and continue loving him. But we see in this episode that this was not really the case. Hayward let her in, he let her see Vision, let her go up to Vision and like use her magic on him, but she didn't take him. So now we are left wondering, did Wanda actually take Vision in any capacity? I mean, we see the scene when she goes back to the little plot of land that they had bought to be their little home to grow old in together, which, by the way, was just a real heart-wrencher at 3 a.m. But we see when she has all of that grief and her powers just kind of like max out, it's almost like she's creating Vision there. And I can't decide if she's creating him from her memory, if she's like making like a shadow of him, or if she's actually like reconstructing him from her memory, or what. It was like, I feel like there's so many different possibilities, but I don't think that she actually has anything of the real Vision. She might have like, I don't know how to word it, like the basics of him, because she did use her magic on him when he was on the little operating table while they were trying to like take him apart, put him together. He said they were taking him apart. It looked like they were putting him together, which we'll get to in a second. But we saw Wanda use her magic on him then. And so I'm wondering, like, I don't know if that was just to like check him out, to see if she could still feel Vision in there, which she does mention she can't feel him anymore, which was a direct callback to the heart-wrenching scene in Infinity War. But I don't know if we were supposed to infer that she kind of like read him enough so that she would be able to recreate him, or if that was literally just her trying to feel if she could feel him anymore or not. So all of that to say, I think Hayward never actually let Wanda have like any part of Vision. Like, I think he was lying about it the entire time, which we do see in the end credit scene, which I'll talk to in a little bit, because I wanted to finish this little like timeline that we're going through the episode. But we see Wanda just overcome with her grief, her powers just sort of maxed out. She takes over Westview, she recreates Vision, makes an illusion of Vision, whichever you want to say that she does, and that's just kind of like her life now, and she's like, cool, this is great. And so that kind of ends up being the last piece, I guess, that Agatha needs to figure out who Wanda is, and we get that awesome reveal at the end where Agatha Harkness is like, you are the Scarlet Witch, which is the first time that we've gotten the actual name drop in any Marvel property since Wanda Maximoff has been introduced. But also that is the possible worst cliffhanger they have had throughout this entire season, and they've had some good cliffhangers. The last episode was a great cliffhanger, but I think this one is arguably the worst just because of the tension that it left in the middle of. Also, the end credits, I think this is the one time that it did not say please stand by right after they like cut the episode. So I'm not sure if that's because we're down to the last episode, or if they thought we wouldn't notice, or what the reasoning was, but there was no please stand by this time, and I was like, you're really just gonna end it like that? Okay, but now jumping back to the post-credit scene, with Hayward and this new vision that he has created. I definitely think that he was lying about Wanda having vision at all. I think that he was just trying to cover up his own tracks so that he could obviously recreate and reprogram Vision to become this sentient weapon that we've been hearing them talk about this whole time with the sword division. So I don't normally like to address any kind of spoilers on here, and I didn't mean to get this spoiler at all. So if you don't want any spoilers further than what's been discussed in this episode, stop listening right here. But someone on Twitter yesterday shared a, I guess, IMDb credit, and I think they're calling him White Vision, which is voiced by James Spader, who voiced Ultron in Age of Ultron. So, do with that information what you will. I certainly don't know how to handle it, but I think we're going to be in for an explosive finale next week. And I'm a little nervous because I feel like we still have so many questions that haven't been answered yet, and I don't know how they're going to do it in half an hour because these episodes are still only like half an hour long. Maybe the finale will be longer. I don't know. I don't think that information is particularly leaked yet, but I know they thought this episode was going to be an hour and it was 30 minutes again. So, a lot for them to cover in the finale next week, and it could be that we don't get most of the answers that we're looking for because this is going to tie so directly into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which doesn't come out until next year. So I have a feeling they're going to leave us hanging and we're going to hate it. But I also feel like that this might tie into Loki somehow because, and this may just be me reading into things too much, but they mentioned a lot in this episode about mischief, and they also, Agatha said that Wanda was using chaos magic, and both of those are terms that are usually used to describe Loki. And I know it's a common theory that Loki is going to show up in some capacity in Multiverse of Madness because it's going to be dealing with messing with time and space and reality and stuff like that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading too into it. Maybe I'm just hopeful. Maybe I just miss Loki. I don't know, but certainly something that I picked up on the entire episode. But yeah, amazing episode. Lots of emotions. I really think we're gonna get a lot more action in this last episode. Hopefully we get some more answers, but I'm not holding my breath about it. I think it's gonna be something big. I cannot believe that they have pulled off Wandavision so far. I know we're still waiting for that big cameo that's supposed to be in the last episode. I still have no idea who it's going to be. I know there are so many theories that it could be Magneto or it could be Doctor Strange. There are some people out there that do still think it could be Loki. I don't know. I'm just stressed that I have to wait an entire week to figure out what's going to happen next because this is going to be the longest week of my life. Alright, that's gonna wrap this video up for this week. If you have any details that I missed, any theories of your own that you want to talk about, any ideas who you think the big character reveal might be in the next episode, in the finale, drop a comment down below. I will be back next Friday with a finale discussion for WandaVision, and I'm thinking about filming it just like right after I watch it. That way my emotions are still just like high. But I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So that'll be next Friday, and then I will be back this coming Wednesday with a regular video, just kind of chilling and hanging out. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. Give me a subscribe if you haven't already. Click on that little notification bell down there if you would like to be notified when I post a new video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye!